Before Adrian Street became one of the most flamboyant wrestlers Britain ever produced, he was a miner's son from Wales who was expected to go down the pit like his father. Instead, he put on makeup, glitter, outrageous ring gear and became one of the toughest, strangest and most influential wrestlers of his generation. And yes, he also once claimed to have battered Jimmy Savile so badly in a wrestling match that he pulled clumps of hair from his head. Hello everyone, I'm Josh Faulkner, the wrestling comedian. Make sure you like the video and drop me a follow. This is the story of Adrian Street. The bleached hair, the makeup, the glitter, the flamboyant robes, the androgynous presentation. At a time when most wrestlers were trying to look like hard men from the pub, Adrian Street looked like he'd walked out of a glam rock fever dream. And the genius was that underneath all the feathers and lipstick, he really could fight. That's what made the character work. The audience might laugh at him, shout at him, or underestimate him, but once the bell rang, Street was no joke. He worked across Britain, Europe, Mexico, Canada and America. In the United States, he became especially influential with Miss Linda by his side, developing a style that was years ahead of its time. You can see traces of Adrian Street in so many later wrestling characters. The mind games, the gender-bending presentation, the idea that a wrestler could be theatrical, outrageous and still completely believable as a threat. But one of the most infamous stories from his British career involved Jimmy Savile. Before Savile became known as a television presenter, he had a brief spell around professional wrestling. Years later, after the horrific truth about Savile became public, Adrian Street spoke about wrestling him and said he had already sensed something deeply unpleasant about him. Street claimed that during their match he took liberties with Savile. He said he battered him and pulled clumps of his hair from his scalp. And given everything that later came out about Savile, that story has become one of the most darkly satisfying footnotes in British wrestling history. Now, the Savile story is only one part of Adrian Street's life, but it tells you something important about him. Adrian Street was not just a novelty act. He was hard, he was clever, and he had absolutely no interest in being treated like a joke. That's why his career lasted so long. He wasn't just ahead of his time. In many ways, wrestling still hasn't fully caught up with him. He made himself the attraction. He understood image before wrestling fully understood branding. He understood outrage before social media. And he understood that the best characters are the ones people cannot ignore. Adrian Street sadly passed away in 2023 at the age of 82, leaving behind one of the most unique careers in wrestling history. A miner's son from Wales who refused to become what people expected. A hard man dressed like a glam rock superstar. A villain who challenged what masculinity in wrestling could look like, and perhaps the only wrestler who can say he gave Jimmy Savile a hiding, and somehow became even more respected for it. Was Adrian Street Britain's most original wrestler? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more wrestling stories, opinions and laughs, you know what to do. And remember, I'll see you on the next one.